Welcome to a community update from the Department of Senior Affairs. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, and today's title of the show is Overcoming Holiday Stress. With us to discuss that is Michelle Holtby, who is an author and presenter. And before we bring Michelle on, I want to just read a little bit of some background here. What brings Michelle Holtby to our show today is something that affects many people, young and old. It's the holidays, and more specifically, the stress that goes along with it. The holiday season, including Thanksgiving and Christmas, should be joyful and full of visiting with loved ones both near and far. And what holiday would be complete without shopping, whether it be for food or gifts? Michelle's holiday celebrations took a turn for the different when she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at age 27. She lost everything she had, a long-term relationship, being a homeowner, having a successful career in advertising, and her health. Overnight, everything she worked so hard for disappeared. Suddenly, she had no money, nowhere to travel, and no friends. It was a sad and lonely time for her and took several years before she found her footing again and began rebuilding her life, but not the way she wanted to, the way God wanted her to. What resulted from all this loss and change was her first book that was self-published in 2008 called Bipolar No More, a memoir of hope and recovery. In it, she discusses many topics that she lived through, including surviving the holidays and how each year of her recovery, she began to reclaim the holiday season and making it meaningful to her once again. So Michelle, we'll start with some questions, but I wanted to read a little bit of background. Then welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you, Ed. Good to be here.
And I think, again, when we talk about the holidays, which are approaching, they mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some people, they're hustle and bustle, and it seems like there's not enough time to do everything. I know my wife feels like that sometimes. So you had a different experience, and we're going to start with the first question is, how can one overcome loneliness or feeling overwhelmed this time of year? Because, again, a lot of people are surrounded by family, right? We take it for granted. I know that I am, and not everybody is. So how can people overcome that?
Right. Well, before I begin, I just want to mention briefly, this is a show chock full of wonderful tips that people can use not only during the holidays, but during the rest of the year as well to help them cope with stress in general. Having a pen and paper handy now, or perhaps hitting the record button would be a good choice of things to do if you want to watch this show later on. But as far as overcoming loneliness or feeling overwhelmed, when I say one, I don't mean just a certain person. I mean groups of people, such as seniors, or the mentally ill, or someone who has had a deceased spouse recently, college students who are away from home, as well as adults who are living alone. All these groups are affected by loneliness and or feeling overwhelmed. And basically, some general tips to generate creative ways to overcome the stress and focus on healthy alternatives during this time. I broke it down into four areas, and the first is to walk it out if you're feeling angry. We all know that physical exercise really helps combat stress, so getting out and getting some fresh air really helps. Talking it out. If you're frustrated or confused, talk to a family member or a close friend or perhaps a priest. And get your feelings out. You'll feel so much better. It's better than stuffing them. Write it out. If you are into journaling and feeling particularly sad, putting pen to paper can really help to alleviate some of those sad feelings. And lastly, pray it out. If you're feeling helpless or just don't know where to turn, praying does wonders, and so one of these four options may work best for you, or perhaps combining one or two of them might work well too.
I think the other thing is this. I mean, you mentioned a lot of reasons of how to get things out, and everybody's got their own way that they deal with stress. But I guess I want to ask you this: we know why loneliness happens, and again, I think people are of the opinion that everybody during the holiday season has a turkey and 20 people there, and that's not true. That's not true. You mentioned college kids that there's a lot of loneliness, and I think that when you again that music of Christmas is just around the corner. Halloween is going to pass, and then after Thanksgiving, wow. So I guess one of the things, why do people feel overwhelmed around this time of year? And I can understand it's shopping, hustle, bustle. There's a lot of things you want to get done. Is there some other reasons?
Sure, expectations. Our society has these expectations. I couldn't believe it the other day when I was watching network TV, and they're already starting to advertise the day after Halloween, Christmas specials on TV. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You barely catch your breath. You get through one holiday and then another one comes. It's like a tidal wave, and it doesn't stop until basically after the new year. And people have to, what I've done for myself is made the conscious choice that I was going to choose what I wanted to participate in and what I didn't. I come from a very small family, and so there's not like 20 people at the table eating turkey for Thanksgiving, but it's new. It's going to be a new holiday tradition for me in many aspects because my husband and I recently got married, and so it is a new traditions for us that we're creating, as well as incorporating my family. And it's just not choosing not to get swept away with the commercialism of everything. Pick and choose what you want to do, and I think that will help a lot in diminishing the amount of stress in your life this time of year. And I think this time of year also brings about the most commercials for, you know, all these toys, these phones, these what do you call them? Computers and fancy toys and stuff that are out. And they're nice, but they're also expensive. So.
Well, you mentioned expectations, and I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things is, you know, for a lot of people, you might hear that music and holiday music, and you know, our house is always full of a lot of great holiday cheer, at least, you know, where I live at. But again, that's not always the case for everybody, and I think we need to remember that how it is for us, it's not that way for a lonely senior, a lonely college student. You mentioned that.
Right.
So,
right.
and it could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and it's not necessarily the best time of year for everybody.
Right, right. It doesn't have to be this huge, you know, 7-foot tree in your living room fully decorated. You can have a little Christmas tree. As a matter of fact, my husband and I are this year. We're going to have a little Christmas tree. Doesn't mean it's going to be a little Christmas. Just, you know, we are choosing to scale back on our own and do things that we value and find important, and just not getting caught up in the rush and the urgency, I would say, of keeping up with everybody else, keeping up with the Joneses, and having the best decorations or the newest things. You know, traditions are really good, and it would be nice if more of them came back in people's lives, and I think that would help kind of slow things down a bit.
Well, I think you know, when you say keeping up with the Joneses, a lot of people want to, and that adds to the stress because you know, Bill Jones just got a big this, you want to get that, and yes, so I think you're right. You know, if you just do what makes your own family happy, what makes you happy, and not worry about someone else having the 20-foot tree or something, a bigger celebration than you did or more. And it's a shame that people get caught up in that because really the holidays, you know, aren't really all about that, or they shouldn't be anyway.
Right.
You know, anyway, you know, the second question we have is how can one deal with lack of money in gift giving? That's a pretty important question too. I think a lot of people feel overwhelmed and stressed about that.
Sure. I think people are stressed about money pretty much all the time. So you add the holidays on top of that, and it just compounds things. Some tips that I actually have done over the years, I actually use these things. I'm not just saying them, but I've been going to arts and crafts fairs for, oh gosh, probably 15, maybe 20 years now. And I started going with my mom, and then I went with some friends, and now I go with my husband. And it's nice. Arts and crafts fairs are nice on many different levels. First of all, the parking's great. You can probably get a closer parking spot to the door than you can at some of the shopping centers. You can generally save more money because the items are handmade, and not that they're made very well, but they're well worth the money is what I'm trying to say. And you should also, before you even leave the front door, figure out what kind of budget you have, and if you can, try to stick to it. I know people that actually during the holidays just shop with cash and leave their credit cards at home. If you know how much you can spend on your credit card, then you know, feel free to bring them with you. But having that number in mind, okay, I'm not going to spend any more than X amount on Aunt Edie or something. You can have a dollar amount for each family member. And that tends to help. So arts and crafts fairs, there's many that are sponsored by churches in town, and there's also some that are sponsored by schools, and they do them as fundraisers. So you're helping the schools out and the churches out, as well as buying gifts for your loved ones. Handmade items, jewelry. Jewelry is a huge market now, and people are making some amazing things. So I don't know a woman out there who doesn't like some handmade jewelry, from a local vendor. Baked goods, or making a meal for someone. Find out somebody's favorite meal. Maybe it's a neighbor or a coworker. I also have made the habit recently, when I go, when I bring food to somebody, I ask them, if they have any food allergies, since that is so common right now with the gluten-free and the can't eat nuts. And I also include a recipe card just in case they want to make the meal themselves in the future, or they want to make sure that everything in that recipe is okay for them to eat, because you don't want to make them sick by
Yep.
giving them a meal. So these are all different options. Additionally, if the person doesn't need a gift, if they are elderly and they really say, I really don't need anything, then how about going over to visit them and bring over a board game or a puzzle, and play the game together or put the puzzle together. That conversation is probably more meaningful than any store-bought gift you can buy that person, and I'm sure they appreciate the time spent with them. And if you like, you can have snacks available, but keep it simple, nothing extravagant. Another option is to do a gift exchange, and a lot of large families, I'm not sure if your family's like this, but as people grow and get married and their families expand, they can't afford to buy gifts for every single person in the family, so they draw names. And my husband's family does this, and they have been doing it for years now, and works out really well. They have a dollar amount, and they have a person's name, and alleviates a lot of stress in that regard. And another option is, what talents are our family members good at? Maybe they're stressing because they can't think, what am I supposed to get this person? How about exchanging a family service throughout the year? Maybe someone's really good at taking photos, and they can put together a photo book online and have that printed out for that person to have. Or what about if someone likes to clean houses? Maybe they can help somebody out, clean their house once a month, and that person, I'm sure, would be extremely grateful. Time swapping is another thing. If you have the time to run errands for somebody else that's, raising 5 kids and just can't hardly keep things together, helping that person out by running errands once a week, twice a month, could be a great gift that is just ongoing throughout the entire year. Wrapping gifts is something that I've actually done to help out my parents through the years, and I really enjoy, I don't wrap my own gifts, but I wrap gifts for other people for them. And so I enjoy doing that, and I also like going shopping for gifts and coming up with creative ideas for people. So I have family members that appreciate that. I just say, don't worry, don't stress, come up with something, and so it usually works out well. And yeah.
Well, there's a lot of great tips, and I think one of the things that you mentioned, be creative. There's other things to do besides spending time. There's no substitute for the human touch. There's a lot of people there that would like to spend time with a friend. Loneliness is one of the worst things, for our senior population that we talk about, and this show deals with all populations, not just seniors. But, when I think of seniors that use our centers and our facilities, a lot of times when they come, the only human contact they may have is with us, with the staff or the people that are around them. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the creativity as far as gift giving or even spending time, you don't always have to have money to do that. And you mentioned the arts and crafts fairs, and you mentioned, and they are great. They are great. Yeah. I know they certainly are. And around this time of year, they're going to be starting. So there's so many different ways that you can gift people without worrying about spending $100. Right. And I think that's an excellent point. Right. And a lot of people, the things you mentioned, the time swapping, the job, maybe cleaning somebody's house, those are much more important than a new, iPhone. In my opinion. Now, the iPhone would be nice, sure, but somebody spent the time. I always say it's the thought that counts. Yeah. People forget that, and so I think some of your things about going back to old traditions. I'm an old school guy, man. And I think those values still matter. Mm-hmm. I really do.
I think I learned to tune into more of those creative alternatives of gift giving when I was diagnosed at age 27 and I lost my job. I had no money. So Now, it didn't happen like instantly. I came up with these ideas, but over the years, and some of them have stuck, and I've added new ones. But yeah, just I don't know. I don't know if everyone wants the same gift for Christmas every year.
I agree. I agree. I think
So
that's part of the fun of it. Let's get to some more of these. And I think,
yeah,
how can one rethink the holidays and return them to being a happy time? Because let's remember this too, that sometimes for people, they've lost loved ones during the holidays. The things have happened to them during the life happens. It doesn't just stop during Thanksgiving or Christmas. It doesn't stop and say, well, we'll wait till these things happen and it'll happen after then so everybody feels better about it. That doesn't happen.
right.
So there's things that have happened to people during the holidays that when the holidays come around, it's more of a heavy-hearted thing
Right.
than it is a happy time. So can you explain that?
Right, yeah. So, right, that's definitely true. The more recent a event has happened to someone that, for instance, someone loses a spouse, they're deceased, and it happened to be, let's say, around Thanksgiving. It's not like the following Thanksgiving they'll be fully recovered and ready to jump back into the holiday mood again. It takes time. It takes years, and some people really never get past that. But fortunately for me, it's been 13 years since I was diagnosed, and I can say that I can fully be a part of the holiday seasons, but I do make sure to take time for myself and just to kind of step back and catch my breath. An acronym that I've used in presentations before has been HOPE, which stands for Help Other People Every Day. I don't think the holidays it's not supposed to be just be with your family for Thanksgiving and Christmas and move on with your life the rest of the year. Some people are like that, and that's how it turns out. But that's not the intent of the holidays. So helping other people every day, you can turn projects of helping people into year-long things. Like, example, for cleaning someone's house, you could do it once a month, let's say, and so you see that person at least 12 times out of the year. It's not just like, oh, Christmas is here, got to drop a gift off for so-and-so, I think gratitude and charity are a part of every day of the year, and it's not just, gratitude and charity are part of every day of the year, and it means so much more to people if you're able to reach out and be there for them, not only when they really need them, but, helping them out on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. And this is for any group. This isn't, just for seniors. This is for someone who has a deceased spouse, the adult who's living alone, the mentally ill person, the college student away from home. For example, with a deceased spouse, if you're a friend or a family member, you can easily give this person a phone call and reminisce over old times. I wouldn't say do it, when it most recently has happened, but, a year or two's passed by, and it's nice to know that people care and they don't forget about others who are hurting and are in emotional pain during this time of year. It's almost like I felt this way when I was diagnosed, like I really didn't exist because I was sick. And Thanksgiving and Christmas weren't for the sick. They were for the healthy and the happy. I know now that is not true, but it certainly took a toll on me, and I imagine that people can feel this way, especially early on. Another nice thing to do is to make a collage of photos of doing things together. With your spouse, invite other family members over if possible. See if they have photos that they'd like to donate towards the collage, and hang it up in a prominent spot where they can see it and they can look at it and smile and remember the good times.
There's so many, I think, again, instead of just going to the store and, getting a gift and rushing and racing and wrapping it, and those things mean something too, but it's the personal touch. it's the time spent with each other.
Right.
And people forget that sometimes, especially in a day where, social media and kids texting and,
Yeah.
I always say that to my son, son, look up, man, have a talk with him. He's good about it, but I mean, he's locked into his phone. Most young kids are, and I think those are the things that you're talking about are throwbacks, but they're great throwbacks because those are just, everybody laughs about a picture or a photo, and who doesn't get involved in it because they remember, I remember we went sledding, or we went to the mountains, and they remember that, and that means a lot, and it does, because the togetherness and the bonding, you get way more out of that than here's a gift and I got to go.
Exactly. And you talk about the photos, and there's conversation that's generated, and you get people laughing and bringing people together, and that's what it's all about.
Exactly. We got some more here, and the other suggestions, and I'm going to let you go take care of the lead on this, and you said take care of yourself first, the rest will follow. Give us some examples.
Absolutely. So several years I wrote a book called Bipolar No More, A Memoir of Hope and Recovery, and in it I wrote a chapter, yes, an entire chapter on tools to heal, help, and create. And each chapter begins with a quote, and this one I think is really relevant to this talk. It says, "Change is inevitable, growth is optional." It's by Warren Spello. So, and just briefly to go over a few that really have helped me from the very beginning. I've used all of these at some point in time, but especially during the holidays, slow down. Take your foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, and just live in the present moment. The past is gone. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. We don't know what's going to happen. What we have is now. So I live my life this way as much as I can in the present moment, especially during the holidays, to remember to breathe and to know that I am just here at this moment right now. Along with that goes taking yoga classes, which also helps to relax and decompress, and so does going out for a walk. Oh my gosh, especially in the cooler weather, it's nice to bundle up and just get out in the cool air and feel it on your face, and take a walk around the neighborhood with your dog or with a friend or even by yourself, and just reflect and think and just be grateful for all that you have. I also try to avoid crowds when I'm doing my shopping or running errands, especially during November and December. I do my shoppings Monday through Thursday, usually in the morning, and it's pretty quiet in the stores or the places I go to. So might want to keep that in mind. And parking is really good too.
That's important.
Yes, parking's good. Also, just other little tidbits I do. I keep snacks in my purse and in the car to prevent low blood sugar. When you're out and you're shopping, you're burning a lot of calories, which is a good thing. But sometimes we reach for the food court, which isn't always the healthiest of choices. And if you can keep a little granola bar or some nuts or a dried fruit or something healthy on you, in your coat pocket or your purse, that'll help keep you from eating less healthy choices. And I also bring water wherever I go. I have water here. I have dry mouth and from medication, so stores are fine with you bringing a bottle of water in. Let's see. I try to keep things small and simple. Too many choices really does stress me out. So when I'm coming up with ideas for gifts for people, I usually pick like one or two things. Or if I'm invited, this is a big thing, invited out to family gatherings or parties, I choose like one thing that I want to do because I know I have the energy for that one thing. And you don't have to say yes to everything.
That's another thing.
You can definitely
don't try to do
choose.
it all. Yeah.
Right. You don't have to please everyone all the time. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point
Yeah.
because some people try to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's weird because it's more so done during the holidays than I think than any other time of year. It's
I
like,
agree.
got to do this, got to be there. They're expecting us. But in essence, I think they'd rather that you take care of yourself and come if you're happy and you're rested.
Right,
then-
and you're right, and you're not frazzled or tired,
Yeah.
or you're not engaged in any conversation because you are. So I
Right.
think you're right.
Yeah. And just a couple more. Have time in nature with God, whatever that means to you for me, that means, going to a park and taking a nice long walk and just looking up at the trees with the leaves falling and just breathing in nature. It's really nurturing and relaxing. Have some daily alone time to reflect and relax. Maybe you want to read a good book or talk to a friend, or just even sit and look out a window. It's amazing how relaxing that can be. And also, make time with others as you're able, either going out for coffee or taking a walk or doing some hobby together. These are just a small sampling of many examples that I've used in my 13 years of recovery and still use. I've added to the list since then too. Things that I can do to not only get well, but stay well. And that's important for all of us.
Boy, I don't think there's any question about it. I think one of the things, and we got just a couple minutes here and I want to get to the rest of this, but I just wanted to say that I think parking, and a lot of people see, I'm for crowds, I'm with crowds, they don't bother me. At Manzano Mesa, it's a lot of crowds, so I have to be, I'm better around a lot of people, but there's other people that don't like, you mentioned that, Monday through Thursday, kind of quiet. Yeah. There's people that can't stand crowds, and I understand that. For as much as I love them, there's other people that when they see a lot of people, they go into a shell, and they don't want to be around that. So I thought that point was very good, Monday through Thursday, kind of quiet, better parking. You're still going to see people, and that's inevitable anyway. Right. But I thought that was a very good point. Let's get to these other ones. You mentioned, we got about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Think outside the box, you said. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Thinking outside the box. So give back to others. Visit a neighbor that's homebound. Have that conversation with them that you've been putting off. Volunteer. Dog shelters always are looking for donations of various, food, bedding, even dog walking. Soup kitchens are very popular this time of year. If you like to be there to serve others, serving them a meal is a wonderful way to reach out. Senior centers. Visiting hospitals. Maybe someone is in the hospital and you've been putting off that visit, and maybe now's the time to go do that. Journaling is another. And I talk about this earlier, write out your feelings, especially if there's no one to talk to or you don't feel comfortable in expressing yourself verbally. I journaled for years and it was incredibly helpful, and actually journaling led to me writing my book. Walking, fresh air does wonders. It clears the mind. You can view the situation differently when you return home. That often happens to me. I have seasonal affective disorder, which is SAD, and this exposure to daylight boosts the serotonin in the brain and actually makes you feel happier, calmer. And because of the lack of daylight in the winter months, it's even more important to get out in the afternoon, especially between 10 and 2 when it's sunniest, and get some vitamin D. And lastly, attend a faith-based church service to elevate your spirit and rediscover the true meaning of this holiday season. And
you know what? I think they're all important. Got about a minute left, so wrap it all up for us, including the book that you wanted to mention. So wrap it all up for us, if you would, please.
Okay. So for additional questions or comments, on December 13th from 11 to 12:30, I will be sharing the same information broadcast today with additional information provided as well, including a question and answer time. I will have books available at the event. My book, Bipolar No More, A Memoir of Hope and Recovery, available the day of the event, December 13th. So I just want to thank you, Ed, for inviting me to join you on the show today, Overcoming Holiday Stress. And it sounds like I gave you some good ideas, and hopefully some of our viewers as well, on bringing more peace and joy to you this holiday season. And for those who missed some of the tips mentioned in this broadcast, please check back. It will be shown again soon. And remember that these tips can be applied to your daily life, not just during the holidays. So focus on the traditions you enjoy most and scale back on the rest.
Michelle Holtby, Overcoming Holiday Stress, author and presenter. Thanks so much for being our guest.
Thank you, Ed.
You bet. For the Department of Senior Affairs, I'm Ed Nunez.